The best video games are masters of their respective platforms. Somehow, the classic Atari game Pong was able to turn a handful of pixels and a controller that was little more than a knob into a generation-defining competition that is still enjoyable today. Call of Duty, although often looked at as a frat house punchline by many real gamers, has written the definitive rulebook for console gaming's dual analog controllers, and this mastery is undoubtedly a contributing factor. On March 28th, the gaming world was introduced to a new platform, the Oculus Rift. Like the consoles and PCs that came before it, the Rift has its limitations. In this case, that limitation came stamped with an Xbox logo and bundled in every box. The Rift's initial preference towards controller-based games over hand-tracked is seen by many as a shortcoming. However, it's the game that makes the hardware, not the other way around. Crytek's The Climb is one game that proves it can do more with 2 buttons than other VR games can do with your entire body. The Climb is, like many great games, simple. You only have 2 objectives for each level: get to the top of the mountain and don't fall horribly to your death. These goals are accomplished through a beautiful control scheme that is a perfect marriage between the Rift's hand tracking and the often mocked Xbox controller. Both components are used wonderfully as your gaze controls where your hands are placed on a given rock face, while the triggers on your controller are used to activate your grip. This method of traversal means you'll often find yourself standing on tiptoe to get your hand just high enough to reach that narrow handhold, or squeezing the triggers of your controller so tightly that your hands begin to cramp. There's also a stamina/chalk system that adds another level of immersive gameplay to an already pulse-pounding experience. All of this is topped off by the stomach-dropping jump mechanic. You'll definitely be taking a few real-world steadying breaths before attempting that virtual leap across a very believable looking plummet. As perfect as the controls are for making the best use of the Rift as a platform and building immersion, they can be somewhat finicky. A few of my falls felt like they only happened because the game was failing to detect that my hand was indeed placed over a viable handhold. These moments, while frustrating, are scarce enough not to detract from the rest of the experience. Visuals in The Climb could be their own separate experience, entitled Beautiful Landscape Viewer 2016. Half of what makes this game so enjoyable is simply gawking at the astounding vistas from every new angle that the mountains afford. Each environment has different visual touches and Easter eggs to keep an eye out for, and their ever-present enjoyment makes you feel even more in touch with the simple delight of moving higher and higher up these very large rocks. Complementing the visuals of The Climb perfectly is its approach to sound. Audio is positionally tracked in the game. This means that when you turn your head away from the shelter of the stone face that you're scaling, you're instantly greeted by the sharp whistle of the wind or the distinctive song of an eagle. There's also no music during your actual ascent. The subtle soundtrack only kicks in when you summit the various peaks of the mountain that you're currently conquering. The absence of music keeps the immersion in place and maintains your connection with the natural beauty of the experience. The Climb is a challenging game. Even the easy versions of the 3 scalable mountains will be difficult to conquer without a good amount of falls. There are 3 mountains to tackle, and each has 3 difficulty modes that are unlocked as you progress through the game and your climbing level grows. Successfully reaching any of the climb's peaks gives you a true sense of accomplishment, but the higher difficulty mountains will especially leave you feeling like a world-class athlete by the end. There are multiple paths and hidden surprises for each course, making multiple climbs a must. Your abilities are also scored at the end of each challenge, meaning that you may find yourself coming back to the same terrain again and again in order to climb higher than your friend on the online leaderboards or defeat their ghostly hands in the game's race mode. Here at Upload VR, we gave The Climb a final score of 8 out of 10. It's great. There may be some control issues holding it back, but in the end, The Climb creates a world in which the mechanics are so satisfying, the visuals are so beautiful, and the sense of accomplishment is so real that you just want to keep on doing what the game enables you to do so perfectly. Keep climbing.